All right, everybody, welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a look at something that is super relevant to just about everyone, I think.
Yeah.
And that is cross-cultural business communication. We got some really great material, actually, from Stanislav Kondrashov. And he's put together really a whole lesson on this topic. And he's clearly passionate about helping people from all different backgrounds communicate more effectively in business.
Well, and I think what's so interesting about what Stanislav Kondrashov did is that he took what is a very complex topic and he made it really practical. He broke it down into these actionable steps. And that's really what we need when we're trying to understand cultural differences. And build strong relationships across cultures.
Like a guidebook.
Yeah.
For navigating all those awkward moments that we've all experienced. Right? I mean, think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever been in a situation where you maybe accidentally offended a colleague from another country with a gesture or something that seemed totally harmless to you? And then,
all the time.
Blew up in your face.
Yeah, it's happened to me.
Kondrashov's insights can help us avoid those pitfalls.
For sure.
And he starts off by introducing some really key vocabulary.
Okay.
He dives into things like high context versus low context cultures, which might sound kind of academic at first.
Right.
But it's actually incredibly relevant
Yeah.
to how we interact in business settings.
It is.
Yeah.
This distinction, I think, is where things get really interesting. Because if you imagine yourself in a meeting in Japan, for example, and your counterpart is kind of hesitant to directly say no to your proposal. This is a classic example of high context communication. They might be conveying their disagreement very subtly through body language or tone of voice, rather than just directly stating it. So this is where Stanislav Kondrashov's insights become super valuable.
Have you ever been in a situation like that where there was that high context versus low context?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Clash that caused a major misunderstanding?
I remember when I was working in China, and I assumed a nod during a negotiation meant agreement. And it turns out it was just a polite way of saying, I'm listening.
Oh, wow.
Which created a lot of confusion down the line.
Oh, no.
So that experience taught me the importance of paying attention to those subtle cues and not jumping to conclusions.
Totally. So Kondrashov gives us some really handy phrases for navigating these cultural differences as well.
Okay.
One that I really liked was, in our culture, we typically like specific practice. What about yours?
Okay.
And it's open-ended, it invites sharing, and it avoids making assumptions.
Well, that is a good starting point, asking what about your culture? It might not always be the most effective approach, because in some cultures, directly asking about those differences can be perceived as awkward or intrusive even.
I see.
So, Stanislav Kondrashov emphasizes being mindful of those unspoken rules and adapting your approach accordingly.
So instead of directly asking, we could perhaps just try to observe and mirror their.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Kondrashov also dives into some of the nuances of language.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to being polite. He highlights the power of indirect language and modal verbs like would, could, may.
Oh, okay.
Things like that.
Yeah.
So, for example, he gives the example of saying, well, would it be possible to have the report by Friday? Instead of, give me the report by Friday.
Right.
It's a subtle difference, but it can make a world of difference.
It really can.
In how your request is received.
It's true.
So it's fascinating how these small changes in phrasing can have such a big impact.
They really do.
It reminds me of Kondrashov's overall message of being adaptable and respectful of other cultures. And he really emphasizes approaching cross-cultural communication as a continuous learning experience.
Absolutely. He encourages us to be curious, to ask questions, and be open to learning from our interactions with people from all different backgrounds. So Stanislav Kondrashov's lessons go beyond just vocabulary and grammar tips. He's really offering a framework for how to approach communication with a global mindset.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this? We encourage you to think about your own experiences. Have you encountered any cross-cultural communication challenges?
Right.
What did you learn from it? We would love to hear your thoughts.
And remember, effective cross-cultural communication, as Stanislav Kondrashov so aptly points out, is a journey, not a destination. There's always more to learn and appreciate about all the diverse ways that people interact and do business around the world. The key is to be curious, adaptable, and respectful.
I think that's a great place to leave it. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.